Gathering the defenses. The shadow of Jupiter loomed ominously, its swirling storms bearing witness to the gathering storm above Europa. Alarms blared across the human outposts, signaling the approach of a colossal alien armada. The Scale, intent on wiping out Earth's colonies. Admiral Westcott paced the bridge of his flagship, Invictus, his brow furrowed with determination. "All ships, prepare for jump to hyperspace," he barked, his voice cutting through the tense atmosphere. "We must intercept the enemy before they reach our colonies." The crew sprang into action, fingers dancing across holographic displays as they plotted the fleet's course. The massive engines of the ships groaned and strained, hungry for the jump to come. Westcott knew that the fate of millions rested on their shoulders. Failure would mean the slaughter of countless innocent lives. With coordinates locked in, the fleet surged forward, bending the very fabric of space-time around them. In the shadow of Jupiter, the human ships disappeared, racing to defend their kin against annihilation. On the bridge of the Scale command ship, Overlord Creel sat on his throne, 4 eyes scanning the data screens. A sinister grin spread across his face as he watched the human fleet vanish. "They think they can stop us," he growled, his claws drumming on the armrest. "The apes will be crushed beneath our might." Creel turned to his second-in-command, his voice echoing with command. "Change course. We will intercept the human fleet." The officer saluted, his scales shimmering as he turned to the navigation controls, his fingers flying across the panels. As the Scale armada surged forward, their deadly drones dispersed, slicing through the silence of space towards the human satellites. The holograms on the bridge lit up with battle simulations, each one ending the same. The Scale cutting through the humans, reducing them to debris. Some of the officers laughed, their voices resonating with the absurdity of the humans, even thinking they could win. Creel leaned forward, his grotesque smile widening. "Set course between Earth and the humans," he ordered, his voice rumbling through the ship's very bones. "No safety, no mercy." The massive vessel moved with lethal grace, anticipation growing as they advanced. "In Jupiter's shadow, we end humanity's story," Creel said, his eyes sparking with malice. "Today our legacy etches into the galaxy. For glory for the Scale." The crew roared their approval, unified by their bloodlust and belief in their own supremacy. With Jupiter as their stage, the alien armada set the scene for war. The battle joins. On the icy surface of Europa, Lucas Reed's boots crunched against the frozen ground as he hurried to the anti-ship cannon. His breath fogged the helmet, a reminder of the cruel nature of this moon. In the distant bunker, his wife held their daughter's hand, their eyes wide with worry. Reed climbed the metal rungs and settled into the gunner's seat, the ice cracking under his gloves as he gripped the controls. He powered on the cannon, its targeting screen casting an unwanted glow against the blackness of space. A thunderous boom shook the ground, and explosions painted the dark in orange and red. The Scale drones fell like shooting stars, each bringing ruin. Wave after wave, they tested the human will, but Reed's finger rested on the trigger, ready to respond. The militia guns roared, blasts tearing the sky and shredding the drones into fiery shards. Reed tracked a drone, leading it slightly before squeezing the trigger. The cannon bucked, and the drone vanished into the void. He shifted his aim, each trigger pull an act of defiance, shells erupting in rhythm. Alerts flashed, and hundreds more drones pressed the attack. Each destroyed was a small victory, but the numbers overwhelmed Europa's icy shield. The rumbling beneath Reed's feet grew stronger, and he knew the truth. The militia's courage was strong, but breakable. Reinforcements were not just needed but vital. Reed glanced back at the bunker, picturing his family within. A silent prayer echoed in his beating heart, calling for the Earth fleet beyond. High above, the Invictus emerged from hyperspace, leading the Earth's fleet against the backdrop of the stars. Admiral Westcott stood firm on the bridge, his hands dancing across the holographic screen that tracked the enemy. Alpha to Echo squadrons, engage when I give the word. Westcott's voice echoed through the vessel. The fighters broke off, space lighting up with guns and missiles as they swarmed ahead. All guns, fire. Westcott's order cut through the noise, and the deck shuddered in obedience, belching death. Voices strained with reports, but Westcott's gaze never broke, his satisfaction growing as the scale formation crumbled under the relentless bombardment. On Europa, the militia roared orders, celebrating each hit on the drones. Lucas turned the gunner's chair, tracking a massive-scale cruiser in his sights. He breathed slowly, lining up the crosshairs before pressing the trigger. The cannon bucked, and the cruiser exploded, parts flung outward as the colonists slapped backs in relief. But the fight was far from over. Overlord Creel's lips peeled back over sharp teeth as he slammed a clawed hand down. "Deploy them," he hissed, and dark pods fell from his ship, engines flaring as they descended towards Europa. The ground invasion had begun. The Titans unleashed. The pods hit Europa's ice hard, cracking it open as dark armored scale soldiers spilled out, their visors glowing in the dim light. Shields flickered on in a rainbow of colors, and the ground invasion began. Reed yelled for the militia to hold the line and stand firm, his voice urging courage from the colonists. They fired a barrage, but the rounds bounced off the scale's shields. Explosions from buried charges shook the ground, and ice and fire erupted upwards, throwing warriors into the air. Undeterred, Reed charged with his team to meet the invaders, swinging his weapon and clashing with a scale soldier. The air filled with the sounds of blunt weapons and the gasps of pain as the colonists fought grittily, their teamwork woven into their actions. The scale were relentless, though, and each step cost the militia in trails of red on the ice. Then salvation roared from above. Reinforcements spilled out of landing ships, kicking up ice and dust. Fresh troops added their blazing guns, and the scale attack crumbled against the human resolve. Yet the stand had cost, and the ice held memories of stories and casualties. Reed turned to the new troops, making eye contact. They were tired and scared, but ready. Jupiter hung huge and silent above them, but here they stood, together, unbroken. "We hold," Reed yelled, his voice that of every human. They echoed his call, a promise to survive and win. On the Invictus Bridge, Admiral Westcott stared at the screens, his jaw clenched. "We end it now," he grumbled, slamming the comm. "Ghost Squadron, weapons free. Target Creel's flagship." The stealth bombers dropped away, slipping through the debris, engines mute in the void. Pilots flew smooth, weaving through the shredded metal and busted ship parts, ducking under radar, unseen, cloaked in tech and cunning. Creel's huge engines loomed ahead, ready for the taking. In the cramped bomber cockpits, everyone hushed, aside from what was needed said. "Payload armed," one pilot confirmed in a flat, cool tone. "Copy that, locked on approach vector," another answered, just as calm. The seconds dragged out, then the doors snapped open, and the bombs drifted free into the black, tugged by gravity toward the engines. The team waited, on pins and needles, until the massive blast split the darkness, birthing a new sun in the shadow. On the Invictus Bridge, lights dimmed with the shockwave. Westcott's fist clenched, but his face stayed stone. The screens reported a direct hit. Creel's ship drifted dead in space, engines gone dark. "Hit them hard while they're dazed," Westcott ordered, steering the next assault. The fleet surged forward, seizing the momentum shift. Shouts echoed on the bridge as roles quickly adjusted, new targets acquired, and weapons reset. In the airlock, the Marines prepped to board, gear triple-checked, helmets sealed with a hiss. They stood ready, hand-selected, and stone-cold. Westcott watched them, pride burning in his chest. They would deliver a blow beyond any missile, the raw blow of audacity and courage. "Go," Westcott ordered, that single word carrying his will, his command. The airlock opened, and the Marines vanished into the firestorm, their mission clear, their resolve ironclad. The fight continued in the cold crucible of war, the ice shuddering as the battle raged. But now, the Titans had been unleashed, and the fate of the Scale invaders was sealed. Boarding action. The drop pod slammed down on Europa's ice, and Scale warriors spilled out, ready to attack. Lucas Reed's chest thumped with each impact, and his squad scrambled, breathing hard. Marines incoming. The radio crackled. Jets screamed as ships dropped the reinforcements, boots thumping down as they charged, energy beams slicing through the twilight and searing Scale armor. Screams echoed as the Scale fell. The advance stalled. Ammo check. Lucas yelled urgently, his team checking magazines with desperate faces. Supplies were dangerously low. Then, Westcott's sharp voice filled Lucas's ear. "This is Westcott. Transport in 1 hour. Hold." Lucas thought of his family below and found strength, pushing through the fatigue. His team readied their weapons, bracing for the advancing foe. They would not lose Europa. Higher up, snipers found their marks, shots dropping Scale engineers as they scrambled to lay traps. The air smelled of ozone and sweat, and Lucas directed a squad to flank them. At his command, they ambushed, weapons cracking loudly, tearing into the surprised enemy. Lucas led the charge, his rifle precise, the staccato shots piercing the silent air. Europa bore witness, its surface scarred as humanity etched resolve into the alien ice and dust. They held the line, united for survival, awaiting the needed aid. On the Invictus Bridge, Westcott stood straight, eyes fixed on the tactical screen. "Release the Titans," he said, hitting a button. The cargo doors opened, and the giant Titan mechs dropped into space, their thrusters igniting as they descended to the ice on Europa. The Titans landed heavily, each footfall echoing through the comms and shaking the ground. Their armed cannons spat streams of shells, tearing into the Scale forces and shredding their armor. Explosions churned the moon's surface into a field of craters, and the Scale broke apart, their unity destroyed by the Titans' raw power. Westcott allowed a hint of a smile, a rare break in his stony face. But victory wasn't here yet. He looked again at the crippled Scale flagship, hovering damaged over Jupiter, its engines flickering as panic filled the alien command center. "Boarding team, you are cleared to enter," Westcott commanded into the radio, watching the swarm of human ships move in on the flagship's exposed side. Inside, the soldiers cut through the hull, magnetizing their boots to the metal walls. Scale warriors crawled down, claws gripping the surfaces, weapons flashing in the dim emergency lights as both sides traded fire. Neither gave ground easily, the combatants floating through the corridors in a deadly zero-G dance. Westcott watched the feeds, his hand tightening on the railing. Each report from the borders, each clash and cry, all part of the symphony of battle playing out before him. This moment would decide the war. Victory or annihilation. Overlord Creel's 4 eyes blazed as he heard the humans had breached his ship. Gripping the arms of his chair, he felt a surge of mad rage, wanting to stop them. The sound of his claws clicking echoed in the silent room as he stood up. "Guards." Creel's voice boomed. "Come here. We will kill the humans. My ship will not fall." His elite guards, their eyes shining behind their masks, readied their weapons and followed Creel as he strode purposefully down the corridors towards the fighting. The hum of energy and the white flashes of gunfire lit up the dark halls, revealing the fierce hand-to-hand combat between the Marines and the alien warriors. Creel moved among them like a predator, his guards unleashing precise strikes against the invading humans. The battle raged, the fate of the war hanging in the balance. On Europa's icy ground, Lucas Reed's rifle was empty, and he frowned as he looked at the dwindling piles of ammunition. The radio buzzed with voices, reporting that the Marines were still fighting inside the alien ship. "Share ammo. We're not done yet." Reed shouted to the other colonists, hastily reloading his weapon. The people around him stood taller, their resolve hardening. They would not abandon their comrades above. Admiral Westcott kept a steady gaze on the screens, his jaw clenched. The aliens were fighting back fiercely, but he would not be deterred. Charlie and Delta teams, go to sections S and N. Help our people there, he ordered firmly into the radio, pushing the attack deeper into the alien flagship. The walls of the Invictus hummed with energy as the humans surged forward, white flashes illuminating the dark corridors whenever the energy weapons fired. The sounds of combat echoed, a desperate dance of life and death. Creel roared, his guards following his lead, their strikes precise and deadly. The humans were invading his domain, and he would not let them take it. He felt the fury building, a primal need to protect his ship, his pride, his very way of life. On Europa, the colonists scanned the ice for any sign of movement, their weapons at the ready. The radio crackled with updates from the boarding parties, each clash and report a testament to the tenacity of the human spirit. Reed gripped his rifle, his knuckles white. They would hold the line, no matter the cost. For their families, for their home, for humanity. They would not falter. The battle raged on, the shadow of Jupiter bearing witness to the clash of civilizations. The fate of the war hung in the balance, a precipice upon which the future of both species teetered. In the end, it would be humanity's resolve, its ingenuity, and its sheer determination that would tip the scales. For in the crucible of this conflict, the true power of the human spirit would be revealed, snatching victory from the jaws of defeat.